What's up, nerds? Welcome back. Today I'm talking about Titans United #1, a comic that's actually a pretty decent Titan story that seems to be loosely based on the HBO series that's itself loosely based on the comics. So like I said, this seems to be somewhat based on the HBO Max series, the Titan series, but only loosely because like the characters actually look the way that they're supposed to, and they don't do that, in the show. And then for another thing, like I actually do like this story. I'm not a big fan of the Titan series, not that I hate it or anything. It just never really caught my attention well enough, I guess. I saw like the first season and it didn't really make me want to come back for the second one. Not enough. I'll probably watch it at some point, but I haven't really had that much interest. So anyway, I was actually kind of surprised to see like this series because when I looked through it, I mean the art for one thing is actually really nice. But the story too is actually quite interesting. So let's kind of talk about what we have here. So we start out with this guy who I think his name is Evan Morton. He's just kind of walking, he's on the phone, and then we see this thing where like the kid's looking like, oh, look, it's Superman and everything. So while he's having this conversation, I think with his girlfriend or whatever, he starts to have like this headache, migraine, whatever you want to call it. I guess he hears this high pitched screeching sound. So that causes him to kind of like freak out or whatever. And he's saying that his eyes are hurting. And then all of a sudden we see this where he kind of goes full Cyclops for a second and he has this eye blast thing. Or I guess you could say, I mean, he's copying basically Superman or Superboy's like heat vision. So that's basically what it is. Anyway, so he manages to close his eyes to stop it and everything, and everybody, of course, starts running away. But before this couple, I mean, well, this mother and child can be crushed, all of a sudden we see someone swoop in and save them, and they're like, oh, it's Superman came to save us. And that's where we see it. No, it's the team, and it's Superboy. He says, not quite. So this is where Red Hood says, okay, Nightstick, what's the plan? And Beast Boy actually answers for him as he's like transforming. And so you can see like here, I mean, Beast Boy is full green and everything. Like, I do like the art. Like I said, like this team up right here, probably not the one that I would pick, but I do like it. Like for one thing, I mean, obviously, since I said, this is based on the show, there's no cyborg here. So Beast Boy answers him and says, same as always, Red, save the day and pose for selfies. To which Nightwing says, your adoring public can wait, Gar. He tells Superboy, Starfire, Beast Boy, and Red Hood, help anyone still caught in the building. So he runs over to like help the guy or whatever who's still kind of struggling to stop himself from like killing everybody. So he opens his eyes again and he shoots it like straight at Donna Troy, who uses her shield to stop it. And then she says like, I can take it. The question is, can he? So he's asking them for help and everything, and then he manages to close his eyes again. So Nightwing is telling him like, it's good, like that's good, just keep your eyes closed, but he's saying it hurts. So he's trying to like talk to him, and then Raven comes up and she comes up and like gets into his mind to try and figure out what's going on. She says, I sense no malice, only fear. And he's like, who are you? Don't touch me. She says, try to relax. I can ease your pain. He says, I said don't touch me. And then we see him turn into a big green gorilla, just like Beast Boy. So he's very obviously copying their powers. We don't know why. Apparently, like we're going to find out later on that he doesn't have any powers or anything. So we don't know why this is happening yet. But it is pretty interesting. It makes for an interesting fight, especially when we get to see Beast Boy literally fight, another green animal. So he starts attacking him because, I mean, the gorilla does hit Raven. So because of their relationship, he definitely flies into a little bit of a rage, turns into a lion. And then he's also talking about, like, I know copyright infringement when I see it. Like, you'll be hearing from my lawyers and everything. So he starts fighting with him. But then the gorilla all of a sudden manifests starbolts, just like Starfire. So that's actually who swoops in to save Beast Boy because he kind of like transforms back into his more humanoid appearance, and then she catches him just in time. Starfire tells Raven like he absorbed like a full star bolt or whatever. She says first Connor's heat vision, then Beast Boy's abilities. None of this makes sense. So Raven just says one thing at a time, Corey. We're losing him. Mother of Azarath, make him whole. So she uses her power to like heal him or whatever. And then Donna asks, Rachel, is he? And he answers again by saying, the love of your life? You better believe it, hot stuff. So Raven's like, yeah, he's fine. So we see this part where all of a sudden Superboy goes in. He has to like try and save this couple who's about to fall, or the man who's about to fall, really. And so he starts flying up, but as he's flying up, all of a sudden his powers just cut out. So he starts falling down, and Red Hood manages to like swoop in and save him. And he's even saying like, you realize we're here to save them, right? We're not here to save each other. So they do manage to like save the guy and everything, but it's actually Beast Boy who does swoop in to do it, and he transforms into a pterodactyl. Although one thing I do notice here, he said, "What did they teach you at Cadmus, Clone Boy? They're flying lizards and they're awesome." I think that's kind of, hasn't it been disproven that they were like lizards? Aren't they now more considered to have been like birds, that they had like feathers and shit? Anyway, so he says, I'd like to see our wannabe top that. And that's where we see that he's actually transformed into a rhino. And now Nightwing is trying to like subdue him or whatever. So Red Hood is saying to Superboy, calm down or be put down. Either works. And so Superboy is saying, are you insane? What are you doing? Well, he didn't address that part to Superboy. He addressed it to the rhino. Anyway, Red Hood says, getting the job done, kid. You should try it sometime. So Donna comes up with her lasso and everything, and she starts trying to subdue him as well. She's, but first she does say this thing. She's like, "And I thought Nightwing was the only dick around here." So she says, "Now you heard the man. Calm down." And that's where she starts trying to like rope him into submission and shit. He's still fighting against it. He says, "Please, this ain't my fault. I've done nothing wrong." But Red Hood says the big green monster. But anyway, Raven like manages to put him to sleep using her powers, and then that's where he just kind of like he starts overpowering. I don't really know how to describe this. Overheating, like it's kind of like the heat vision just kind of completely takes over his body, and it starts to kind of like erupt from within him. So Nightwing is asking Starfire, Corey, is that? And she says, solar energy, more than I can absorb. Dick, whoever this is, he's about to go supernova. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he was just kind of like overheating. It's kind of, I mean, they did give, what was it, Superman, like that power where he can like release all of the solar energy in his body. I don't think that's what's going on here, but I mean, he does start to overheat and he's about to like explode. So they're trying to figure out like, okay, what can we do? Beast Boy transforms into a horse to get some more of the like the victim or the people, whatever. He gets them out of the way, and then Starfire is saying like she can't absorb all of the solar energy. So Raven decides she's going to try to do so. She says, "I can help Mother of Azarath share his pain." So she does that, but it like burns the shit out of her hands. And she says, "My hands." Nightwing is like, "Get out of here, Rachel." She says, "No, there has to be another way. I may be able to contain the blast." So she's getting ready to try and contain it. How she was going to do that, we don't know, because actually Superboy comes in and he's like, "No, I'll take care of this." So he like flies the guy up or whatever. And Nightwing is telling him like, "What if your powers bomb out again?" He says, "There's only one bomb around here." And then so he starts flying him up. He says, "Sorry, bud, but I need to get you clear." And so the dude asks him, like, why is this happening to me? And he tells him, I wish I knew. I do. And the guy says, I thought you could save me. You're Superman. And he's like, yeah, people keep making that mistake. So all of a sudden, dude blows up and shit. And then we see Superboy's powers do kind of cut out. Or maybe he was just kind of knocked out by the blast. Could have been either one. But we see Starfire and Donna both take off to try and save him. And this part I actually found kind of interesting. We showed our heroes here not being absolutely perfect, because even though they can both fly, and they can both fly pretty damn fast, Donna actually tells Corey, she's like, Corey, we're not going to make it. They're like, basically, they're not fast enough. So he does crash into the damn street and everything. And they do manage to get there just right after, I guess. So they pull up on him and they see that, yeah, he looks like he's been banged up pretty bad. So Donna says, Nightwing, we found him. It doesn't look good. He says, take him straight to the tower. We'll meet you there. She says, Roger. Well, Starfire says, Roger that, but hurry. I've never seen him like this. So that's where we take him back, and we can see he's having these like flashbacks of when he was first cloned and everything, how they were just kind of like experimenting on him. And that's what kind of like causes him to like wake up in like a panic and everything. But Starfire is standing right there. She says, Connor, you're safe. We're home. And so he's asking her like about his arm because it's broken. They have it in a cast and everything. And so she says, he says, but that's, and she says, impossible? Not long ago, I would have said you being knocked out was impossible too. He says, there was nothing I could do. She says, there was nothing any of us could do. That's what makes it so hard. And then we go over to Beast Boy and and Raven, because she still has like her injured hands, and he's saying like, how are your hands feeling? She says hurting. He says, but you can stop that, right? With a little bibbity bobbity boo. And she's like, not funny, Gar. He says, it's a little bit funny. I get it, Rach. You want to help him. You always want to help. It's why you're the best of us. So this is where we see Nightwing is kind of like filling in Donna and Jason about kind of what he knows about this guy so far. And this, yeah, I was right. His name's Evan Morton. So he says, okay, Titans, we've got something. I cross-referenced CCTV footage of our fight with the Bat computer. And so Jason's asking him, like, did you hack in? And he says, only a little. Bruce won't mind, probably. So he says, the important thing is who I found. And Donna says, Evan Morton. He says, ex-con, but seriously small fry, burglary, a handful of grifts. Seemed to be cleaning up his act, though. Not even a parking ticket since his last stretch. So Starfire asks, then how do we explain the light show? He says, we can't. There's no evidence of metahuman abilities in Morton's records. He's as average as they come. And then Superboy kind of like walks in. He's like, nobody is average. And this is where Jason decides to kind of like bust his balls a little bit. Because he says, you sure about that, Clone Boy? And he asks him, like, what's that supposed to mean? He says, what it sounds like. It's all very good trying to sound like Big Blue, but actions speak louder than words. And without powers, what good are you? So he says, I don't need powers to wipe that smirk off your face. And he's like, is that right? You need me to break that other arm? So they were about to get into it, but Beast Boy comes in. He's like, hey, time out. And he says, we're all feeling it, but knocking seven hells out of each other isn't going to bring Morton back or explain how he co-opted our oh-so-sexy abilities. So Jason's like, well, that's enough. That's easy enough. Kent knows everything there is about being a wannabe. You could just ask him. So this is where he finally like punches him and everything. Starfire comes up and is like, what the hell's the matter with you? You could have like killed him just with that punch. But Jason tells him like, oh, don't worry. I've had like harder punches from Batmite. And then he says, what? Guess that proves it once and for all. Super Chomp ain't so super anymore. And then they get like an alert from Hawk of Hawk and Dove. And Donna says, and you said Gar didn't know when to shut up. She says, call coming in on the emergency channel. It's Hawk. And so she's like, hey, stranger, what's up? He says, can't believe I'm about to say this, but Dawn and I could do with some help in DC. We're getting our asses handed to us by Chuck Brown. So this is where Jason's like, oh, is that real? Is that for like really going on? Because you need our help all of a sudden with Kite Man? So he's telling him like, what is wrong with everyone today? And Hawk says, funny you should say that, smart guy. Because I was wondering the same thing. And this is where we can see Kite Man's literally using magic powers, which definitely is not characteristic for Kite Man. So yeah, I can see why Hawk is now calling them for help. So that's actually where we leave off on that for now. I don't know where all this story is going to go. Like I said, I was still a little bit more surprised that, we got this from something that's, like I said, at this point, just loosely based on the show. Because, I mean, the characters don't really look the way they do on the show. Granted, that's going to happen anyway. But nowadays, you can draw, like, celebrities pretty well. It's not that hard. Well, I say it's not that hard, but there is still talent that has to come into it. But, like I said, they could have very easily, like, tried to make it look like the characters from the show, but that's not what they really went for here. More so what we got is something that's based on the actual Teen Titans, like, or the Titans really, from the comics that we all know from before the show. So I thought that was an interesting choice, and it did actually, I think it helped, especially because like I love this look for Raven with the hood and everything, just so classic. I love it. So I don't know. I don't really know, like I said, what we're going to get from this. It's only a 7-issue miniseries, so this seems to be like the new thing. Well, limited series. This seems to be like the new thing that I guess DC is just going to be doing for a while, where they just put out different limited series of whatever. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with time, if any of these things ever become ongoing. I'm assuming that's kind of like sort of the process as well. Throw out some things as, limited series, see if any of it catches fire, and if so, then keep it going, which seems to be a pretty safe idea, but I don't know. We'll see how it works out for this. Like I said, this right here I did like, but at the same time, it didn't really make me want to go watch the show, because just knowing what I do about the show, this isn't all that close to it. It could be closer than I'm giving it credit for. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't really seen much since the first season, so I'm sure there's a lot that's probably happened, I would hope. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I do want to see what happens with the comic. I'm not really all that interested in going watching the show, so at the very least, I'll still be picking up the comic and reading that. I don't know. Like I said, it's actually a pretty decent Titan story, and it's actually dealing with like the Titans instead of what we got from like Teen Titans Academy, where they were supposed to be teachers, but then we never really saw them do that all that much, and then they just kind of dropped out entirely in the like they literally were not in the last issue. So I don't know. Anyway, if anybody out there has read this, do feel free to let me know. Let me know if it's like anything close to the show. I like I said, I'm probably not going to go and watch whatever, however many seasons there are now. I'm just probably not going to do it, honestly. So if anybody out there has seen it and you think that this is kind of like close to the show, then do feel free to let me know. Maybe my mind could be changed, but I don't know. I kind of prefer it in the comics, honestly. Just from what I saw of the show so far, I kind of prefer the comics. So yeah, that's going to do it for me on this review. So if you like the video, guys, then like the video, make sure you're subscribed, and share the video if you would like. But if you're done here, then go and read a book, possibly this one. I don't know. But if not, then I'll see you on my next video.